village too. However, we would have had to turn some of you away. We don't normally serve 500 people on Memorial Weekend. So it's very nice to be with you online. And we're going to have a really nice conversation with 4 panelists. And I want to introduce them to you now. I suspect you already know their names quite well, but let me tell you a little bit about them. So Sister Maureen Goodman was born in Liverpool in the UK. So it wasn't only the Beatles that came out of Liverpool. Other great things came out of Liverpool. Her parents were married in Calcutta, and she was hearing stories of India from the time she was a child. But when she started to travel to Madhavan regularly, it somehow came as no surprise to her or to her parents. She is married to David Goodman, and David and she came to Baba in Scotland while on holiday. They saw an exhibition and experienced Sudeshti's Drishti, and that was it. She served at Baba's Center in Edinburgh when it started in 1978 and was also serving in the north of England. She moved to London in 1982. It was for 6 weeks. We all know how that goes. And it's now been 38 years. Since then, she's had a tremendous opportunity to learn new skills of administration, public speaking, program production, and so on, and has had the privilege to be involved in several international projects for Baba. But the most meaningful of all has been the opportunity to come close to Bab Dada and the Dadis. She's been mentored by Dadi Janki for 40 years, and she feels the mentoring is still going on. So welcome, Maureen.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Then we have Sister Aruna, coordinator of the Kuwait Center and currently looking after Egypt for the Brahma Kumaris. Her parents came into Gyan in 1975, and she consciously chose to come in March of 1983. You may know her as the author. She's the author of 8 small books. She's a blogger on itstimetomeditate.org, 37 years in Gyan. She too grew up under the guardianship of Dadi, Sister Genti, and Sister Sudesh in London in the 80s and 90s. She has lived in and helped to run centers in Vancouver, Istanbul, Bahrain, and now in Kuwait. She spent 1 year in New York with Mohini Ben in 1997-98. So welcome, Aruna. Sister Sharona. I had to embellish hers. It was too lean. So you might know Sister Sharona from her early days of serving in Boston, or the early days of Boston. And in the late 90s, she moved to Israel and became the national coordinator for Israel. Sharona is the instrument behind Dadi Janki's amazing book, Companions of God, and many other spiritual projects. She reports that she's been in Gyan for about 1 year with 37 years of practice, meaning the older she gets in this Gyan, the more she feels she's only just begun. So welcome, Sister Sharona. And finally, Br.Enriquez Simo is a member of the national coordinating team of the Brahma Kumaris in Spain and the coordinator of the headquarters in Madrid. He has collaborated and promoted programs for peace, the development of values and spirituality within various organizations. He's a Raj Yoga meditation and personal development teacher with more than 30 years of experience. He's traveled extensively, giving lectures and courses in meditation, positive thinking, spiritual intelligence, inner leadership, and other things like that. He works as an executive coach and as a facilitator in leadership development programs, as a coach and lecturer at Francisco de Vitoria University in Madrid, and he's on the faculty in the IE University on the topic, I think that's emotional intelligence, on the topic of mindful leadership and self-development. So welcome, Brother Enrique. So this is a wonderful set of panelists you have to reflect with you on Dharna. As I think you know, that we will be taking questions. We're going to start out with some questions I have for them. And then when you have questions, you can put them in the chat box. So I want to start with the same question for everyone. And this is I'm going to read you the question and then I'll start. We'll probably do it in the order I just introduced them. So, what attracted you to the spiritual path of the Brahma Kumaris, to Raj Yoga? And so, in answering this, I'd like to start out understanding a bit about the early days of your spiritual journey. What attracted you to the Brahma Kumaris? Was it the knowledge? Was it Raj Yoga? Was it the community? Was it a certain instrument? What was it that initially drew you? And just tell a short story of your early days that carries all of that in it. All right, and having asked for all of that in about 1 or 2 minutes. So Maureen, if you'd get us started.
Hi, yeah. Thank you. It's really lovely to be with everybody. Great privilege. Thank you for inviting me. Well, I came to Baba with David, as you said, in 1976. And I suppose 2 words I would say, Drishti and Brahma Bhojan. Well, that's 3 words, isn't it? But 2 concepts. We saw an exhibition in Edinburgh, and we were, it was, if you know the book Illustrations of Raj Yoga, that was the first exhibition specially created for Western service. So that was the exhibition that we saw. And we then were introduced to Sudesh Didi. And it was, we were just fascinated by her drishti, her whole presence. And when we were introduced to her, instead of, a normal conversation like, how are you, who are you, whatever, she looked at us and she said, would you like to meet God? Would you like to write a letter to God? You can, I was like, what? And so part of me said, I have to believe what this woman says. It's true. And the other half said, she must be crazy. What's she going on about? But somehow her drishti in those words, the arrow had struck the target for both of us, actually. And then we continued to take the course over the few days. And then on the Fridays, that was Sunday, on the Friday, she invited us for lunch where they were staying. There was no proper center. But I just, looking at that food, very simple Brahma Bhojan, I just thought I was in heaven. I just couldn't believe what I was eating. So it was as if it was really, everything was awakening memories. And even when I heard the first Murli there, I hadn't heard Murlis, so, didn't know, only basic Gyan, but just felt like I'd always been hearing it. So it was like very natural. And of course, we became very, we were very sort of, had a lot of fervor, to progress, to do service and tire ourselves out, and wondering why our families and everybody else doesn't just want to hear this knowledge and become Brahmins. I think we all know the scenario in those early days. And so yes, probably my 2 minutes is up, but
Very nice.
those early things that impact you don't leave you, and then of course many things later on, but that was the very first thing.
Very nice. Thank you. So, Aruna, what drew you? I mean, your family was already there, but something made you say yes in 83 or whatever year it was you chose. What was it for you?
So, yes, Om Shanti. Thank you so much to Mohini Ben and the team. And really happy to spend this time with you. So I came as a kid. So there's the pain of that as well. And I think for the first few years, I was trying to leave Gyan rather than come into Gyan, because it wasn't always in my interest, let's say. But in 1983, I really felt I had a wake-up call where I realized that my mom was learning some very deep truths. My mom and dad actually got a leaflet through the letterbox in 1975. And till today, I just thank that person who would have posted that leaflet, because as a result of that one leaflet, I mean, we 3 sisters are in Gyan, my parents, my uncles, my aunts, so many people. But anyway, back to my story. So yeah, in 83, I came home for lunch, as I did every day, and Mom would always cook me a snack, and then she'd sit with me for that half an hour, and she'd try and put some Gyan into my head. So that morning she had heard the Murli, and I don't know whether it was that morning's point or it just came out of her. It had to be that seed. So she said that everything that's been created has to be destroyed. And the one thing that will never be destroyed is the soul. And that just blew me away. And I remember telling my friend, let's find something that can't be destroyed. So the whole week, I remember we were trying to look. I was about 14 at the time. And we couldn't find anything. And that's when I realized that Mom, who hadn't had any education, was becoming quite smart at these things. So I said, Mom, I want to learn what you're learning. And that's when I started to go to the center. So that's my story.
That's actually very sweet. I didn't realize that. I've never heard that story before. So, Sharona, what's your origin story, if you will? You're muted. Unmute your mic.
I have two things I'd better say first. First of all, I also want to thank Sister Mohini and all the organizers. It's so amazing how we can meet now with the Zoom. It's just wonderful. But also, Aruna Ben, I have to say that the whole time I was listening to you, I was really smiling because you and I did a teacher's training together. We did the teacher's training together, the only teacher's training, which was led by Dadi in London. Do you remember? You were 16 years old.
Yeah. In that little Kennington Road.
Yes, we had a good time. One thing that really attracted me was this Gyan. I was around 32 or something like that, and I was getting ready to go back to school because I was a big believer in education. And I already had 2 degrees, and I was thinking maybe I needed to go back for more because the world otherwise was just too much of a puzzle. And then I came into this Gyan. I saw a poster actually and was attracted. I didn't know much about meditation, but I came and I really, really loved the knowledge. But what was happening was that I had such a big ego that I was not able to have any kind of experiences. I was just completely in the head. And I loved the knowledge, but everyone around me was experiencing and sharing such stories of peace and things like that, God's love. I didn't have any experiences. And so ultimately, people kept telling me I had to go to England. I took Gyan in France. I was living in France at the time. So they kept pushing me to go to England. They said you had senior instruments there and you could have some kind of experience. So I did go to London and I did have an extraordinary experience of Baba. In those days, Global Cooperation House didn't exist. We were in that big, beautiful living room at St. Gabriel's Road. And I went for a weekend intensive, what they call a weekend intensive. And I remember it was one of the first times I was meeting the family and meeting seniors. I was sitting way at the back. And I started having a very weird experience, which was pretty much like I was just so aware of how my body was made up of billions of cells. And I didn't know how to get up and be able to hold them all together because it was lunchtime and we had to go up to the senior and take our lunch tray, get drishti and take our lunch tray. It was the end of the morning sessions and I couldn't go up because I was so aware of being this assembly of loose molecules and I didn't know how to hold them together. So I was having some kind of out of body experience and I was happy about it on the one hand, but on the other hand, I was a little frightened. Finally, I kind of collected all my molecules and made it down to the front of the room. It looked like the senior sister was at the end of a long tunnel and I had to make it down this tunnel. And when I got close to her, I started shaking. I started crying. She understood what was going on, so she put the tray aside and she opened up her arms. I kind of collapsed into her arms. I had a huge experience of Baba. I think Baba just took pity on this soul whose ego simply hadn't allowed her to break through and experience his purity. So he broke through the skies and came to me in an extraordinary way. And I really, from that point, I understood love, I understood God, I understood truth, and from that point on, just anybody wearing white, I grabbed them and I said, "What do you do? What do you don't do? I want to be like you," and that was it.
Wow, that's beautiful. I hadn't heard that. That's lovely. So, Brother Enrique, what's your story? What drew you? And did you come first or did Bill come first?
We were living together in the same apartment, and I came first, but after a week, he said he saw my face and my happiness, and he said, "Where are you going?" And I said to him, "Come with me." So he came to the center, and also he joined the center, and both started almost together. No? So we were living in Barcelona. And well, first, thank you so much for the invitation. It's nice to be able to share with all of you. I'm an experiential person. So Baba gave me very special experiences at the beginning. Well, I was from 19 to 25. It was a period of my life, 6 years, very chaotic. I was leaving my parents' home. I went to live to a little village in the seaside. Very chaotic life. I got married. I had a daughter, and then after 6 years, I was tired. I went back to Barcelona, and I said to my parents, "Please, can I stay again here just to reorganize my life?" And my mother was very nice, and she said, "Okay, stay. And she said to me, "This is what you have done in 6 years. No work, no money, and just one daughter," because I arrived with my daughter. So I had to be humble. I had to bow down and start again. So I started searching. I did yoga. I started to meditate. I changed my diet. So many things I've changed for 2 years. And then in Switzerland, in a Congress of Macrobiotic with my daughter, we were all the time traveling together. I met a person and he said, "I know some people that are thinking like you. I will invite you in Barcelona and I will show the place." Okay, then I went there for a tea and tolly meeting. And I was in black because I was doing Japanese martial arts and yoga and macrobiotics. So it was completely dark, my dress. And the two sisters were in white. So it was nice contrast. They were very, very happy. There was very nice conversation. And at the end, they said to me, "Do you want to meditate in the room of meditation?" I said, "Yes, why not?" So I sat there. It was this Shiv Baba, plastic Shiv Baba, red in the middle, and Baba's picture. So it was very strange for me, what is this plastic? Because I didn't understood plastic and a photo of a person there. Well, let's sit there. So she put a little bit of music, and in 5 minutes, it was like a cascade, not a shower, a cascade of peace over me, So I was really, "What's this? What's this?" And I said to the sister, "What's this?" And she said to me, "I don't know what happened to you," because she didn't know. So I said, I want more. She said, "Okay, next week we can have the course." And said, "Next week is too late. Tomorrow. So she said, "Okay, come tomorrow at 7 in the morning because I'm working. So it's the only time I can give you." So I came at 7 in the morning to take the course. And the course also was very, very special course. She was sitting in a small gadi. At that time, there were the gadi. There were no chairs, only carpet. She was giving the course to me, only to me. So she sat in the gadi, and she talked for 15 minutes. And then she gave me drishti for another 15 minutes. So it was like a laser beam. And I was not understanding anything about the course, but I was waiting for these 15 minutes of drishti, So I was like being ready, sitting on the floor, putting myself very straight. And Finish, please finish your talk. And then now. So it was 1 week of experience. I was crying. I was experiencing love. I was so many things inside myself. And then after that, after the course, I start to go to the Murlin. Then I start helping in the Center for Service, and the story began, and here am I.
It's still going.
After many things.
Stories, really, each one is really beautiful, and different things, right? We're attracted by different things. Very nice. So I have another question for all of you, and this time let's reverse the order and go back the other way. So we'll start with Enrique. Okay. So Dadi Janki's Dharna is legendary. The stories of the efforts she made in her life and the support she gave to hundreds, even thousands, are famous. Each of you had a personal spiritual relationship with Dadi. I wonder if you might share a story that captures your relationship with Dadi, and how are you different and better than you would have been if you had never known Dadi Janki? Enrique.
Well, yes, I have many stories from Dadi Janki and about Dadi Janki, because at that time in Spain, she came so often, so we had the opportunity to be very close to her. So the first experience, very short, but I want to explain another one also short. But after 3 months being in Gyan, after taking the course and still being very new, I went to a retreat in Portugal, and Dadi Janki and Sister Genti were there. And just to see them both, they gave me such an experience that I said, okay, this is my life. I want to be like them, without even listening to them, just seeing them. So this was my first meeting with Dadi Janki. But then, very interesting, because Dadi Janki has been for me my spiritual coach, my personal coach, and my professional coach also. So it's not only spiritual, because my profession is now coaching. So I revise my life, and I see how she has been always being able to see my needs, and to not to give me advice. She never told me how to do things. She always challenged me, because I'm a person who likes challenges. So he always challenged me with a question or with just an answer. Just a sentence. And these thoughts are still in my mind, and they were like arrows going inside and working then after a few months. So I start my spiritual life with a very simple job, and I was not very ambitious. And after talking to her, after a few months, she said to me, "You are very young, you can find something better." Just like that. So this thought came here. So I changed, and I found a better job. I earned more money, but then I worked more times, more days in the week, all the days, a full-time job. So then a few years later, I said, "Dadi, I want to spend more time in service, and I'm working so much." She said to me, "Okay, work less, work 3 days per week, but Dadi, Om Shanti." So again, how to do this? So I managed to work 3-4 days per week. After a few years, I said, "Dadi, still I'm working too much, and I want to dedicate more time to service." She said, "Okay, work less and earn more." Om Shanti. So again, this thought was there. And now I can say that I work not little, but I work less. My salary is much higher, and I have a very nice professional role. I can do service. I meet so many people. And this is all because of my spiritual coach and professional coach, Dadi Janki.
That's not her usual title, but I like it. So let's go to Sharona. Sharona, your story with Dadi. How are you different and better? And what's the relationship?
Honestly, I would say that I all my life was trying to understand love. Love never ceased to fail me and evade me in my life. And Dadi Janki introduced me to God's love. And that would be true love. And then she lived on that wavelength herself. So I couldn't have had that introduction without her. And there are 2 stories, maybe 1.5. First story is there was a period in my Brahmin life which I was out of commission for over a year, basically in bed. I couldn't move. There was some challenges with the body. And I'd already been sent to Israel, and so I'd come back from Israel because there were some doctors that we thought could help. And at one point, I was actually in Peace Village for a week, and Dadi was also passing through. And Dadi would come to visit me from time to time, because most of the time I was just in my bed in the room. And twice, just in passing my room in the corridor, she threw out this sentence: Dadi is sending you special sakash. Another time she said, all the Dadis are sending you special sakash. And to be honest, I had no idea what that was. I mean, I understood the theory of sakash, but I didn't feel anything special. I didn't feel anything different. I was a lot of times quite angry. I was a lot of times quite confused and bewildered about my condition. And I rejected a lot of the efforts I think people would have made to try and support me, because I was just so overwhelmed. I didn't feel any help, from God. I think that was my biggest frustration. And I didn't feel anything from this Sakash. That's one story. I'm going to come back to it in a minute. The second story is that I never experienced love from Dadi as love, like what I thought I was looking for. I guess you could say emotional love. I never got that from Dadi. I never felt Dadi loves me, never. But what I did feel right from the beginning, and it just deepened as the years went by, is that Dadi was expertly tuned in to making sure that there would never be anything between her and me which would add to my burden of waste thoughts, negative thoughts, which would continue to challenge my ability to experience God. She was expert at keeping every interaction, physical and also subtle, the kind which not only didn't add to my own burden of waste and negativity, the wall between me and God, but she is expert at picking away, melting, moving away the stuff in me which was keeping me from experiencing God's love. And so this was very, very powerful, beautiful experience of what true love really is. She believed in me beyond any kind of faith I could have in myself. And then going back to the first story, I came to realize that what's happening when a senior is giving you sakash, a yogi is working with sakash, is the person receiving that sakash receives the inspiration not to give up, receives the inspiration to go deeper, understand more, understand in more depth, and in that way not give up. Because I see that throughout that whole time that I was so frustrated with the body, the vehicle, I never, ever gave up. I just kept seeking to understand more deeply and to understand more. And if I look back at that, I wonder, why wouldn't I have given up? What was there? Aside, of course, from Baba's support, I never felt that support beyond this thing. I only sought to understand more deeply and to understand more. And that was Dadi's intervention between Baba, too subtle for me to catch, and me, far too gross.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I think I remember that era, that era with you. Sister Aruna, you lived in London, close to Dadi. So you had lots of access and time and closeness. Tell us at least one story. I'm sure you have dozens and maybe more than dozens. One story, and how are you different and better?
Yeah, I think I do remember Dadi a lot through everything I do. And there's three qualities I've highlighted in Dadi that, well, many Dadi has, but I think three that I've tried to embody. So one of them is her ability to always see the good in others. So even though I may not see the good in others immediately, but I remind myself that Dadi saw the good in me, and that's why I am who I am. And she consistently, that's the point, she didn't just see, but she constantly focused on the good. And I remember one time when I was going through my independent streak, and I said, Dadi, I want to work. And Dadi actually, she thought about it. So when I saw her again, she had an envelope for me, and the envelope had $1,000. And this was in the 80s, right? So imagine how much that would have been valued. And she said, why do you want to go after shells when you are a diamond? And of course, I wasn't a diamond then. There's still a long way to go, but she just continually focused on the good and the potential of the soul. The other quality Dadi embodied was generosity. And again, yes, you said growing up with Dadi, I was able to be privy to some of the transactions. And so I remember during Global Corporation House, when it was being built, when we didn't have enough money, but Dadi was giving money to other countries that were in need. And then you know that Dadi was generous with Sister Jenti. And in her childhood, when Dadi only had a little spinach, but she would share that little spinach and the one roti or 1.5 roti with the other kids. And we saw also now with Jagatamba Bhavan that was being built. So Dadi never thought, what about me? What about London? What about us? But always giving, no matter what. And the third quality is perseverance. And so Dadi was just, persevering in every thought she had to complete. And she wouldn't stop till she finished it. And so we see the example of London and, well, all of you saw many other projects. But I try to also say to myself, Dadi never gave up, so I shouldn't give up, and to just stay focused on the aim.
Nice, very nice. And you captured it perfectly. And Maureen, London, so much time with Dadi Janki. One story, and how are you different and better?
Gosh, yes, very, very fortunate to have all those years with Dadi, and those days when she was here most of the time. We would consult her about everything, go to her for every little thing, really. And you just learnt so much, again, like other people were saying. Often she didn't tell me so much what to do, but she would give me a signal. I remember once going to her, and I'd been asked a question by somebody in an email, and because it was a bit of a senior person, I thought I'd better show Dadi my draft reply, so to that extent. And she looked at it and she said to me, "You've answered her question at the same level at which she asked it. What have you put in your reply to elevate the thinking or elevate the consciousness, to take it a step further?" And I said, okay. So she didn't tell me what to write, but I understood what to write from what she said. And it's funny, that one thing has stayed with me. And so it's like whenever I am doing something, I'm always thinking, what can I do that will bring something spiritual, take it to another level, bring some kindness, something that will elevate what's going on. And Dadi always, I mean, Daddy used to push me a lot, and I used to resist, and it felt like sometimes it felt like she was telling me off a lot. And when I look back, my goodness, the patience she had with me, unbelievable. And one time I'd gone to ask her something. I mean, there's so much you can say, but one time I went to ask her something, and before I could even ask my question, she took her finger out, started telling me off about something, or correcting me. And then she stopped herself and she said, you come to me with so much love, and I'm always telling you something. I promise from now on I won't do that. I said, okay, Daddy. Then about an hour later, I went back for something else. And again, she started. And so this time I took my finger out and I said, Daddy, remember your promise? Oh, goodness. We both started laughing and laughing. And it was like we had tears of laughter. And I remember that scene. It was just so sweet because, I don't know, somehow the relationship was very old, very deep, very intimate. And, and she really, really taught me or really pulled me into the yagya and, that very, very deep feeling of belonging. So lots of ups and downs in a sense from my side, I'm sure not from her side. But she just never let go of me, as other people have said. And I'm so, so grateful for that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing at all.
When you talk about her laughing, I'm remembering that belly laugh she developed at the end. It was so cute. It came on suddenly and it was really irresistible.
Yeah.
Enrique, I want to come to you and ask you a question. Sometimes on spiritual journeys, there are periods where we find ourselves struggling a bit. And we feel we've lost the inspiration that we had. Have you had a time like this on your journey? And if so, what helped you get through that period?
Yes. It was when I was living in Sevilla, in the center of Sevilla for many years, 16 years. And then in Madrid, there was a difficult situation, conflict in the family. And the sister who was there, she was suffering a lot because there was a lot of conflict. So some thought came to my mind, and I talked to Sister Genti and say, I offer myself to go to Madrid and help there. And the sister, because the sister was from Sevilla, so she can come back and stay here. So she said, oh, good idea. And Dadi, yes, good idea. So in one day, all the decision was taken, and I went to Madrid. And after a while, it was really tough situation. It was a big city. Sevilla is small, is nice, is very a lot of light. So Madrid the center was in the middle of the Madrid. Conflict in the family. I had to live in a very small apartment with no fresh air. It was very hot. So everything changes, no? So I was too much involved, I think, in the situations. And then suddenly I saw myself walking in the streets completely with a feeling of loneliness, disconnected from everything, not belonging to the old world, not belonging to the spiritual world. So it was really a very strange situation, no? I didn't have anyone to express my feelings. I had no feeling of connection with Baba at that time. And I suppose it was my carelessness or whatever, but I felt myself in this situation. No? So what I did, I just continued. I had faith. This was really my strength. No, I have faith in the process. I had faith in this spiritual life. So I just accepted. I move with it, and then suddenly I had always this thought that after the clouds, the light, the sun is always there. No, so I continue to wake up in the morning in Amrit Vela, my Murli, everything. And people didn't realize that I was passing through this process, but inside myself was very deep. And then suddenly, slowly, the light came again. And also I remember one sentence that Dadi Jangi was always saying to me and also to other people when I was translating. And she always said, don't stop, with this finger like this, no? Don't stop, don't stop. So this thought was in my mind, don't stop, continue to move forward, don't stop. And now my learning lesson is that anytime that any strange feeling, old feeling, whatever happens, or even conflict in myself or with other people also, I've learned just be quiet, just accept it, observe it, integrate it, just be with it. Don't resist it, no? And you will see that next day or even early, it will disappear. And it's happened several times that something comes, I just don't fight with it, and then suddenly next day I'm happy again and the energy moves again. So I've learned that in fact we don't need to do much. Just be there, just continue to move forward, and then the light will come again and the clouds will disappear and you will continue. So
but it takes a little bit of faith. What you're saying is you have to sort of keep your faith intact.
Exactly.
During that period, not let doubt come in and not react really. Yeah, that's very powerful. Sharona, anything from you on this one? A period of struggle where we lost inspiration and had to come through somehow?
I realize that once again, my story has to do with challenges of the body, which is not to say that my body is completely a challenge, but it's the first thing that I think of. Otherwise, I'm quite healthy. But I'm thinking just even recently, I had a little bit of a challenge with the body. And exactly on that day, I was asked if I couldn't participate in a kind of celebration for somebody in another country. And I had said yes, but I really wasn't feeling up to it by the time this event was supposed to be happening. It was like 8 or 9 in the evening for me. And really, all I wanted to do was just take rest and finish the day. And I had been exploring the concept of courage in those days. So suddenly I was thinking I had two choices. I could just call it a day and call up and excuse myself and say it just wouldn't be possible, sorry. Or because I had said I would be there and it was a Brahmin celebration, and at some level I was responsible as an instrument to show up, the other choice was to do it, even though I personally didn't feel I could. And that to me is really a secret, actually, about getting the kind of help we need from God when anything comes up, which is challenging. Because Baba's given us a very specific equation for getting his help. It's one step of your courage, and I will respond 1,000-fold.
Very nice.
And I needed that 1,000-fold. But what I had been experimenting with is, you can't just sit back and say, Baba, help me. Baba, you do something now. Give me blessings or give me power. You have to do something. So my doing was, I sat in front of the computer, I opened it up and I said, hi, I'm here. And I felt so sick, actually, but in about 2 minutes, and I'm sure everybody has this experience, all feeling of sickness was gone. I enjoyed the event very, very much. Afterwards, I was feeling a bit tired, but I closed the day with a huge amount of closeness to Baba. And so to me, it comes back again and again. In every difficult situation, I've got to turn to Baba. He's the only one who's going to be able to get me out of it. But a first step of courage is going to be required. I have to do something, and then comes that help.
Right. What strikes me from both of you, for Enrique, it's faith. For you, Sharona, it's courage. And they both tie to Dadi Janki's don't stop, right? You just,
Yeah,
matter
very similar. Very similar.
But you just keep getting up, you keep doing Amraveda, you keep marching forward, knowing that, as Enrique said, the light will come through. Let me turn to Aruna. Aruna, I want to go to the essence here. So at the heart of the BK life is the relationship between the soul and God. And the aspiration of BK life is to live in continuous awareness of God's presence. Now, this is something that Dadi Janki did naturally. Can you share a story of your experience of God's presence or with God and describe what it was that made you feel close to Him and any current practices or efforts you do to stay in God's heart?
Big question, Judy. Okay, so I always claim that my first meditation was actually sitting in front of a diva, the Indian diva with the cotton wig. And so I remember, like Mom would say, go to the temple and do your prayers, but she had lit a diva, so I didn't know quite how to talk to God, so I would just look at that. And I remember sitting, just staring at the diva. I didn't know what I was doing, but it just felt good. But I think what I would like to say is I had kind of a little of an upper hand in that I grew up believing that God was Baba. You see, I didn't have to move from one God to another because by the time my parents were in Gyan, I was quite young. So I thought everybody believed God to be Baba. And so I find it quite surprising when other people would mention other gods. I remember in my early teenage years, and I'd say, no, but there's only Baba. And I'd already kind of begun to have this very loving relationship with Baba. And I think what has saved me is that, yeah, I took Baba everywhere. I took Baba even to my Mayas. If I had a Maya, I'd say, okay, Baba, come with me. And I don't know, somehow there's always been that closeness to Baba, and I have always enjoyed Amrit Vela. I think that is really my time to be with Baba, and it's time for me to fill up. And yeah, a few of my current practices are, one, I'm really trying to go to the end of God, because in Hindi we say Bhagwan ke ant, and I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm trying to understand it. I'm trying to experience it. So just trying to sit with Baba, trying not to think too much, and seeing where I'm led to. And something Mohini Ben had said in one of her classes many years ago, and that was, just sit with Baba. It's not that you have to do anything. Don't struggle to meditate. Don't try to connect. It's like you would go and sit with somebody in the living room, and you don't necessarily have to talk. You just be in that presence. So when I am tired, when the body's tired, then I just go and sit in Baba's room. I don't try to make any special effort or try to experience any particular stage, but just to be with Baba. And it's just very comforting. And I guess there's a lot of that experience from childhood of Baba having comforted the heart. So I know that he's there. And I must say, over the years, there's been a lot more faith developed through the different experiences in the centers and with everything, that I just know that Baba will not let me down. He will pull me through. So that has developed over time, though. But I have also, as you were saying earlier, just keep doing it. Just keep the fire burning.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Really beautiful. I want to check in with the technical team. I'm not seeing questions in the chat box, so am I free to go ahead, or do you have questions? Brother
Hi, Judy. There are a couple of questions, but maybe you can take another few minutes and then we'll come back to them again. Not a lot of questions.
Okay. Do you want to take traffic control? Okay. Maureen, I've got a question for you. With the Dadis mostly silent, what do you feel is most important to uplift and sustain the Brahmin community at this time?
Well, if I think personally, what I feel about it, I feel that we need to really maintain an elevated stage. And something Sister Genti said, she's been calling in every Sunday for class. And it was last Sunday, I think. And I forget the context, but, you know, everyone's talking about the new normal after lockdown, whatever. And she said, the new normal is to be in an elevated consciousness. And that sentence just really blew me away. And I've quoted it not just to Brahmins, but to others too. It's very meaningful. And I really feel that sums it up. And I know being here I'm staying in Global House now the last 2 months. We're a small group, and now just recently, because there's a little easing, we have a few people coming in to volunteer. That's the term we're using. We're not open for classes or anything like that. But I've known that the whole, you know, what has been the focus is to really generate, maintain a powerful spiritual atmosphere as much as is possible. And of course, and there's some scars like everywhere, as we know. But I really feel Baba's help and Dadi's help hugely. And I think to have that focus on maintaining a powerful stage, knowing that that's the basis of everything, and with humility, being very open to what it is Baba wants to do. And I'd also say, particularly thinking of Dadi Janki right now, because I do feel she's definitely working. I've seen things shift in some people that I never thought was possible, my limited thinking. So being open to that, being open to possibilities, and moving away from fixed thinking about how somebody is or how you expect them to be. And Baba's homily on newness last week was quite amazing. And then this whole thing, you know, that every second is new and more elevated than the last one. I mean, I haven't got there yet, that's for sure. But I do feel we're being pushed now in that direction, because it's not about the physical things you do. I mean, we have to be accurate in the physical things we do and the service we do. And who knows what service will look like going forward. But the essence is that an elevated stage, and things will flow from that. And so what can I inspire in others? It's not me, of course, Baba, but it's only through that I can have be of any kind of inspiration to others and of any kind of help to Baba going forward into this next phase. So all that you've learned is kind of merged in that and bringing you to that point.
Very nice. So you're suggesting maintaining an elevated stage, inspiring others, and being open to possibilities. People actually can change. There can be newness. So, Sharona, what's your take on this? This idea of what the Brahmin community needs right now?
I'm pretty much following through on what Maureen was saying. I think we need a commitment. We need each one of us to make a commitment to coexist. I don't really relate to the idea that our gathering is a community. I think in the golden age we're a community, but that here now we're making efforts to become community, because by the end of the cycle there is no real community. And when I look at the parameters of what makes the golden age community, this way of being together in which nobody is rejected, everyone is accepted, differences are seen as added value and beauty. This is the, criteria of community, actually, and we are making effort for that. So, there's two ways we can be not inclusive. We can exclude people through personal preferences, likes, dislikes, etc. But we can also take our own self out of the gathering. We can exclude ourselves, which is another way of saying we can reject people. We can still work with this concept of I don't like him or her, I don't like their ideas, I don't like the way they go, and distance ourselves. And this is excluding, which is as destructive as excluding someone else. Community, I think, requires a lot of effort. It's like marriage. You have to commit. And really, like Sister Janti was saying in one of her recent Zoom classes, through that work on the self, through following Srimad, to really not bother about differences, transcend them. The focus has to be so much on the self, like Maureen was saying. So it's really this, especially now, it's this determination to use my interactions with others, use the gathering as the mirror that it is, to focus on myself and to change myself. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's like transcend the differences. This is another way of saying what Sister Jayanti was saying. In a true community, as far as I've always understood community, nobody is making any attempt to heal someone or convert someone. That's what makes community ideal. Certainly in the golden age, we're not doing that. And so it starts here, not to try to convert, to heal, really this super focus on the self.
I wonder if either Enrique or Aruna want to respond to what Sharona said. She said that she doesn't believe this gathering is a community, and talked about how we shouldn't exclude people. Our focus should be on the self, using the community as a mirror for the self. Do either of you want to say anything to finalize it?
Well, I'll just say that it's not a community, but it is a family. And I think we shouldn't lose sight of that. I think it's more of a community. Because if we I think some of the things Sharona's talking about in terms of trying to kind of cajole and help others, I think that quality is kind of innate in a family, where, as Baba has said, sometimes in the Murli, you see a weakness of somebody, but if you see a weakness of your brother or sister, you wouldn't go and tell others about it. So I agree with her in that sense. It's not a community, but I strongly believe it is a family, and I think we do have to stick together through highs and lows and support each other.
Enrique, you're a coach. What do we do? What do we do here? Sharona's pointing out this tendency to exclude as really getting in the way of our being an elevated community. Put on your coach hat for us here, your spiritual coach hat. What do we need? And unmute yourself.
I was feeling like Aruna, that we are a family, and this is my feeling, no? Even though I have a daughter and grandchildren, but I feel that I have a relationship of service with them. But here in the center, we are three brothers. They are my brothers in the sense that this is my family, no? And in Spain also our team. So I think we have to now in this period of changing times and uncertainty, we need to be more close to each other and develop this feeling of family and closeness and unity, because this will help us to support each other and to go to the next phase all together. I believe strongly that we need to be together to go to the next phase.
Okay, Sharona?
Yeah, one aspect I was really trying to underline was that when we think of exclusion, we think about we don't want to be excluding others, but to exclude my own self means to take myself out of the gathering, to turn away, to refuse to engage in conversation, not to commit to this much larger project that God has pulled us together for. This is the thing. And I agree, we are family, not community, because family by definition is a group of people who are together through blood relationship or adoption. We're all together through adoption. Community is self-selection, people coming together, but family is you didn't select. In this sense, we're all adopted, and our only hope for coming together in the true community that the golden age is the extent to which I know myself first and foremost as this adopted child of God, because that's what releases all these things that we need to be true family, be true community.
Thank you for that. Brother Deb, do you have questions? Do you want me to pause at this point and invite you?
Yes. There is a specific question for Sister Sharona. I will read that first. So she says that there was a time when she didn't feel Baba's love or support, even Dadi's love. Can she elaborate on what steps, other than going deeper into knowledge, like she said, she took to get over that phase to the point where she is now?
For me, it's like a capital question, because I was always led in my life to wanting to have that love, that true love. And off the top of my head, what I can say is just ultimately, as I was saying, I came to understand that this true love is a kind of energy which doesn't allow you to give up and invites you to understand more and go deeper in your understanding. So I think that was it. I mean, you're saying except for Gyan, but I think that's it. It's mostly just acknowledge that I must be missing something because God does love me. The seniors do love me. They're experts at godly, eternal, true spiritual love. So it must be me. And keep going deeper. And like has also been said, not to give up, not to give up. And as much as possible, work almost as a discipline, new degrees of self-respect, faith in the self. Any one of Baba's points, I am his adopted child. I'm an adopted child. Even this drill today, I'm an adopted child and I am a direct creation. What's that? How can I be adopted and a direct creation? Go into that. And which comes first? Like all of this, all these things which place you on your seat of self-respect. I think that helps. And actually, I would say there's one more thing. In the deepening of understanding, what I came across was that any and every kind of negativity, any kind of commenting, criticizing, and correcting still going on in me, in my attitude, at some point in this journey, that itself becomes a curtain between being able to experience anybody's love, let alone God's. So I also really started identifying in myself so much negativity. It's almost like I'd come into a room and need to rearrange the furniture. I could only see what was wrong instead of what was right. This was a huge thing that I had to see in myself and begin to change. And as time goes by with that kind of focus, just getting myself onto that more like elevated, positive wavelength. Papa's very positive. He's very constructive, very pure and elevated. It's that same wavelength, and these are like baby steps to get me to move towards them. So that was a very practical effort for a good year or two, and that's helped a lot.
Shall I go on, Brother Dave, or you have another?
Yeah, I have one more question here, and this is on Dharana. We would like to have 100% Dharana, but that is not always possible. How does one not beat the self or the other about certain Dharanas? How do we transcend and inspire to have Dharana like Dadi's?
Are you directing that question to anyone in particular?
No, you can ask.
This is a broad question. So who wants to take that question? Maureen?
Okay. I was thinking, when Sharona was talking about community and then family, and I was thinking one of the things, sorry, echoing a bit, one of the things that is the sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. One of the things I feel is really needed in our family, if you like, is kindness, a lot of kindness. And when we're a little bit kind to each other, it's like there's more understanding and there's good feelings that are generated, and that generates a good atmosphere. And so when it comes to, where I'm not perfect in my dharna, and we are all going to make mistakes, there's no question, we will fail at things. And actually, like Baba has often said, if you don't take an exam, how will you pass? So, it's always about learning and learning. And at that moment, kindness to the self is so important. And I remember once asking Dadi, Dadi, I see you make little mistakes, but you never stop. You just carry on. And she just laughed. And we stop at something, or at least I do, I can do, not as much as I used to, for sure. But really, if I have that kindness towards myself and, that self-respect that comes with it, as Sharona was saying, that awareness, real awareness of who I am and who I belong to, then I won't stop at these things. I'll understand it's part of the journey, and I'll learn and I'll move on. And sometimes it's almost like if we've made a mistake, we feel we're not worthy to be happy for a while. We sort of want to punish ourselves. And that's not what Baba is intending for us at all. And so I've learnt much more to be light with myself, to be kind with myself. And, you know, and I've seen that in the daddies. They don't stop and beat themselves up. They do pay a lot of attention. And, you know, when something happens, they always will look at their own dharna. I remember one situation where somebody was, you know, a little bit insulting to Dadi. And Dadi's comment was, I have to give her more love. I haven't given enough love. So it was always, what do I have to give? What more can I do? And this was always this generosity of spirit that let me do something that's going to shift things. And so I think we need to become a lot lighter in this and, you know, keep moving, as has been emphasized.
Thank you. One more question, Judy, before you move on. Probably this is a short one. The word family in Hindi is parivar, which is a different concept than the nuclear family we are familiar with in the West. Are we really a family in the Western sense, or mainly a clan?
The distinction between a family and a clan. Who has an appetite for that question? Someone who's got the nuance of Hindi, I think. Aruna, do you want to take a run at that? Clan versus family?
Yeah, I think we're a bit of both, because the clan has certain signatures and certain, rights to fulfill in the community. So which we have, like we have an obligation to give back to the world, to be righteous and all that, because Baba says we are from the highest clan, so the ones that give. And we are also a family. I think it's, again, important not to become negative in our thoughts and to think that we are clannish. I think that's where the problem comes up. And we think all that we're doing is a kind of a copy of what others are doing. And I don't think that's the case, because if we really live by our highest true disciplines that Baba's talking about, then we are the highest clan. And that does make us distinct from other clans. So I think we are a family at times, and I think we are a clan in terms of living by the highest principles that Baba has laid out for us.
I could just say something. I think the important thing is that we're also inviting anyone who wants to into the clan. You know, it's not an exclusive club in that sense. I think that's, you know, that's important.
That's also the same for family.
Yes.
Anybody who wants to be part of our family is more than welcome.
Exactly, yes.
Not by invitation.
So, Brother Dave, is that clarifying, or are we now confused at a more elevated level?
I think we're a family and a clan. So now we can move on to the question that you have, Sister Judy.
Okay. So the question that I have for each of you, starting with Enrique, what is the focus of your personal efforts at this time?
Well, I think this changing context, the lockdown, especially for me, has given me more focus than before. And it's very simple. It's, as Baba said, attention, please. So it's inner attention, is spiritual preparation, and especially about purity, cleanliness, clean whatever still feeling is there, and change it. And also very focused on accumulating power, because my intuition, my feeling, but also the knowledge that we have, we know that the next phase will be difficult for many people, and we had to have a lot of spiritual power to help them. It's happening already. No, many people are phoning us or sending messages. They are suffering, so we need to give them enthusiasm, hope, energy. So my attention now is to accumulate power and accumulate spiritual energy so that I'm ready for the next phase that I don't know exactly how it would look like. But I'm sure that there will be a big need of spiritual power. So in meditation, especially in Amrit Vela and other meditations, I sit and I try to be very concentrated on Baba, and with real intention, drawing power, no? And especially the power of tolerance. I've observed in myself that I need to accumulate more power of tolerance because of different reasons, no? So I focus myself, I see his light, and I observe and see power of tolerance, power. And it's like going inside my soul, no? And I observe that I'm much more aware when I need this power than before. So I continue with this inner attention and accumulating power.
So cleanliness, focusing on accumulating power, a lot of concentration in Amrit Vela on that. Yeah, and especially power of tolerance. Okay. So, Aruna, personal efforts at this time.
Well, I think we're compelled to just be, can't control anything. So that's how I'm feeling, just learning to let go. Because as you know, I'm locked out of Kuwait, actually. I'm in London. And it's very lovely to be here. They're taking good care of me. So yeah, learning to let go. And the other thing that I know I have to learn a lot is patience. And because I'm the type of person, I put my thought to something and it has to happen. And so I'm having to be patient with some of those thoughts because we can't control anything. We can't control the external situation, environment. So yeah, patience, learning to let go. And the effort is, just trying to be with Baba, as I said, just trying to sit with Baba.
And what do you do when that feeling of urgency comes?
I talk to myself a lot. I really try to tell myself, even actually, Judy, the other question that you were asking about how not to beat oneself up. Well, I was answering that to myself, and I think we have to tell ourselves that we are works in progress, and God will judge us at the end, and we're not ready yet. Baba knows that we're not ready yet, but we are in the process. And so I just have to really be compassionate on myself. And today I've learned, tomorrow I will be better. And the next day I will be better. So to keep focusing on the pluses and the glass half full and not the glass half empty.
That's part of your patience point too. And probably part of the point on how, going back to Sharona's point on family and community and that excluding thing, I think that happens when we fail to see that we're works in progress and that everyone's doing the best they can. So I'm pulling your point over to, to something that Sharona said. And so let's hear from you, Sharona, on what's up for you right now.
Enrique was saying, I sit there and I just pull in that energy. I'm tolerant, Baba's power of tolerance. That's what I'm doing for the whole concept of being a soul. I'm a soul. I'm a soul. I remember the first year I came into Gyan, the soul who was teaching me shared an image that he had of Madhuban one year. There was a brother sitting in Baba's room at 3 a.m. with a blanket over his head, and he was rocking back and forth, and he was saying, I'm a soul. And I thought that was ridiculous. But at this point in time, it's like, is there anything else I can do to, really grab and install myself in the unlimited, I should say. That's really the effort. And on a practical level, it means, if nothing else, wouldn't we be just accepting of everything with the absolute faith that everything is happening only for the good? If I could really install myself in the unlimited. And I want to be directed by Baba. I don't want any influences of what's going on around me or what's going on inside me from old sanskars. This is also part of just, becoming that child of God soul, directed by Baba. And again, not to get caught up in so many of the things of which are really the settling of karmic accounts of other people. I don't need to get caught up in them. I need to serve them, which is a totally different thing. Like Baba serves them, he's always offering a different energy, a different vibration. The minute we turn to Baba, we can feel a larger picture. We can feel hope. We can know what we have to do. So why can't I participate or contribute to all the situations going on around me from that perspective? Stay very clean myself and contribute that kind of light, that kind of might, so that the others can also remember it's all going to be okay. Everything is settling, and et cetera, et cetera. That's my effort.
That's very nice. It may be that that's what the masks are about, right? Maybe our virtual masks are to protect us from all of the settling that's going on and how it can make us heavy. Maureen, your personal effort at this time?
I do feel very much personally in uncharted territory. I'm in a situation which I haven't really been in before so totally. Sort of so many things happening around, and I have to kind of maintain what's happening. On the one hand, wanting to maintain, of course, with Baba's help, totally the spiritual atmosphere. On the other hand, knowing that you have to follow certain guidelines and rules and deal with the resistance connected with that. And so I really feel so much more. I'm just more detached, or more an observer of, things are not touching me in the same way. And I'm really relying on Baba to guide me. And it's as if it becomes very clear what it is I have to do. Of course, I'm in touch with Sister Genti all the time, but still, she's like 4,000 miles away. So that's a little bit far. And so, you're on the ground here. And so it's just very interesting. And yes, if I'm honest, at time it seems a bit overwhelming, but not all the time, and not as much as I would have thought. And I really feel it's, that learning to really allow Baba to guide everything, and also to, just to remain stable, because there will be reactions, there will be whatever, and I'm just want to remain stable. It's happening around me. It's okay. And just that stability. And then, Baba's guidance, that accumulation of power, very, very important. And I need more of that, I know. So it's certainly not been a kind of holiday of any kind, with extra time on my hands, but somehow there is a slowing up internally, which is interesting. I don't know quite how to express it, maybe, even though externally it's not really, but internally I think I'm not definitely creating a lot less waste or worry about things. So there is that greater clarity. And whenever I go to Baba, you just feel tremendous love from Baba, and that's what carries you through. And so I feel like it's, maybe, well, I don't do dairy, but a bit like cheddar cheese maturing, or
Maybe vegan.
There's a process. Sorry?
Vegan
cheese. I don't know if you mature vegan cheese like you do dairy cheese, no idea. But I feel like there's a real process going on, and I'm emerging from something. So it's very interesting. So I'm learning and watching and observing myself through it, which is quite fascinating.
Okay. I want you all to take this next question. I want you to imagine nested bowls. All right, little bowl inside, bigger bowl inside, bigger bowl. All right, you got the image? And the question is, how do you feel the Brahma Kumaris are changing? And this is just, take it how you want, family, organization, clan, but go with your tiniest bowl, wherever you serve, and then the next biggest bowl, the region that you're in, and take it all the way out to the biggest bowl. What do you observe? How do you feel that we're changing? And let's start with Enrique. Yeah, and you've got to unmute, Enrique.
Well, my feeling is that we are getting, even we are in the lockdown, but we are getting more connected than before. This is my feeling. Because before I was traveling some places, but now through internet we are traveling all the world. All the time, no? Because we are connected here and there. So I think this scene in the drama is giving us the opportunity to really be close to each other in a different way. And for me, unity, and Baba has said many times, no, unity and unified thought will create a change. So I think that we are progressing and moving forward to this unity and unified thought. Also, this bhati, unified bhati, is so nice, no? So beautiful to feel. We don't see, but I can feel, no, the connection with all the family, and it's very, very powerful. And I love this new way of being connected without seeing people. Also, through internet, when we give meditation or courses, I've given a course to 1,000 people. Never has happened this, and 2 hours every session, and they were there, and I was not seeing anyone, not like Zoom, just only the camera. But I've learned, no, I developed this feeling, and I could feel the people. I don't know how to say it. No? Yeah. So I think we are progressing in this new way of connecting. Maybe it's the next step to then connect in a Vyakt way, in the subtle regions. Maybe this is the training to go then to the next step. So this is my feeling.
Very nice. So more connected, more unity. You're liking this united bhati that we're doing. And then connecting without seeing, just the feeling of connection. Okay, so let's go to Aruna. Aruna, nested bowl, the tiny bowl, which is, I don't know where your tiny bowl is. Is your tiny bowl in Egypt, or is your tiny bowl in Kuwait, or is your tiny bowl in London?
Yeah. Well, I'll answer it generally, Judy. I think some are taking personal ownership and moving forward. I think many are moving away from the blame game and really looking at the self and saying, okay, now I can't blame anybody anymore. Dadi's not there, I can't blame her. So that's one, a lot of people. There are another set of people, I think they are leaving because they're thinking, well, we don't have the supports anymore. And what's going to happen, like Baba said in the past, the tree will shake at the end, as was in the beginning, so will be in the end. But I think majority are waking up to the fact that the end is nigh, and that this is the beginning of the end. And maybe we needed drama to show us these scenes, and it is going to get worse, in my opinion. So I think each one is heeding to that in whatever way they see fit, that if the end is coming, what should I be doing? So I think majority are trying to make some level of effort from the people I'm talking to, at least. So that's my opinion on that.
So you see it as a good thing. They're waking up, less blaming, more looking to the self, more realizing the time. Yeah. Okay.
Self-ownership, self-responsibility.
Self-responsibility. Sharona, what's your take?
Yeah, all of the above. But one other result of that, I feel, or consequence of it is, I think there's more awareness of the role that God has to play in my journey, in my transformation process. So instead of that blaming, more recognition that I need power and I can only get it from God. I have to change and I can only take the support of God. Yeah, that's what I think it is. More and more Brahmins are understanding where the true and only support lies, and they're turning more to Baba, and they're getting more and more creative in figuring out how to make that connection real. And another aspect of that, I think, is that you have more and more Brahmins who are becoming happy in a self-sovereign way, in an independent way. Again, I come back to this word, through a commitment. We signed a contract to a commitment to this much larger project that we've signed up for, which otherwise can escape us entirely. We've committed to helping God create a new world. What does that look like? What's the method for that? So I think if it's not that more and more are getting it, those who are getting it are really getting it, so they're able to contribute that. And that's really important, especially as the Dadis are becoming, more and more support through a subtle and silent level. We need instruments. And here I really must say I appreciate Maureen a lot, because look what drama has handed you. And I can't think of anybody who's been in a more exclusive training and who's stepped up to the plate for this kind of responsibility than you. And here you are, smiling away and sharing. You've not said no to any invitation to talk or to share or to be. So I see that we're getting more of this next generation of souls who are really, those true instruments.
Very nice. So more awareness of the role that God has to play in our transformation, and realizing that I can only change by taking that support, making that connection real. You think we're happier? And this business about commitment, that we're really remembering this commitment that we've made. So Maureen, what do you take your tiny nested bowl and then out, that big bowl well.
Well, I'm trying to think. I can't think of a little bowl, actually. I don't think I've got a little bowl, frankly. Maybe I should look for one that might be good at this point. But just, Sharona's last comment, very kind, thank you. But I think it was the second year I met Baba, and Baba said to me, you're wearing the crown of responsibility of service. And we would chat with Baba those days, and I said to Baba, I hope it doesn't fall off. And Baba smiled, leaned back, and he said, don't worry, it'll stay, and there'll be more and more and more. So I didn't know what it meant at that point, and maybe I still don't know what it means. Anyway, but I do feel, if I think about the public generally, I mean, it's all generalizations, isn't it? But I feel people are questioning a lot, because a lot of because their props have gone, the things they were used to, whether it's the regular healthcare system, in particular family, being with people, the hugs or whatever. And so now it's like, where am I? And people are questioning, and people are, of course, starting to question what the governments have been doing, and, lots of questioning going on. And so that is a kind of waking up. And I think we've all been finding that so many more people are coming online for courses, for events and everything. Maybe they have time, but it's not just because they have time. I think there's something waking up generally. And in terms of the BK family, I think it's a bit like, I think it's what Sharona said, that, those who are getting it are really getting it. And I think this is you know, when people ask me sometimes, oh, what's happening with the family, the sanskaras, the situations, is the family in its iron age, you know, that sort of question. And those who are going to get it and be in that rosary or be the inspiration or lead the way, and you know, the rosary, we don't know how big it is. Baba's often said it's more layers, but those who are going to be the inspiration to bring others along, they will do their work and they will do what they have to do. And others may take a longer time, whatever it is. You'll see all the games going on, whatever. But I just feel, you know, I have to say to myself, what is it that I have to do? And that's really the thing. No matter what's going on around me, I have to stay focused on what it is that's really true for me and what really I feel Baba wants of me. And, you know, if you've been fortunate, as we all have on this panel, to be close to the daddies, we see it. It's not theory. We've actually seen it in them, the way they've behaved, and as a kind of osmosis, it's come to us. And so I do think it's a very interesting time where we're going to see more and more. What word to use? It's going to become clearer what's happening, and it's very clear, you know, the drama. That's right. That this is a phrase I like to use. It feels to me as if Kali Yuga is unraveling, and so, you know, lots of interesting things as things unravel. I don't know. Let's watch the drama. Watch this space.
Brother Deb, can we have 4 more minutes?
Sure.
So can I ask each panelist, starting in Israel, going to Spain, and then back to London, would you please offer one hope or blessing for everyone, for the family, for the clan, the whatever we are, the network, the organization? Let's start with Sharona.
Well, I think that's kind of the point. You know, Baba tells us we're a family, we're a hospital, we're an army, we're a school, we're an organization, but the common ground on all of that is the commitment, I feel. And so just to, I guess, practically speaking, it's, can't I commit to being positive, to being constructive, not turning away, not rejecting, not opposing, but come to the table, keep contributing, keep all doors open, because if I shut even one of them, even on a most subtle level, not liking something or someone or turning away from something or someone, that's going to cost more and more my relationship with Baba and what I can receive from him. So keep yourself committed to truth, and truth is always so nonviolent and positive.
Thank you, Sharona. That was beautiful. So thank you for that. And thank you for being on this panel today.
Thank you.
To Spain, Enrique. Brother Enrique, a hope or a blessing for everyone?
Blessing, yes. A blessing that I'm feeling this blessing also to myself, no? May all of us become angelic, avyakt, and all united give visions of Baba and the new world that is about to come. So let's become the example of the new world.
Beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for participating in the panel.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay, to London, let's do Aruna and then finish with Maureen.
My blessing to each one is that may we really fulfill our highest potential and really emerge the best of us as always in any drama, the climax is always at the end. And so may we truly emerge the best and give of our best before the end. And Brahma Baba tried to do that with everyone, those in the early days. Dadi tried to do that a lot with us. And so, yeah, may we really get to that goal.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I think that's the way to leave peacefully, actually, knowing that I've done all that I could.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for participating. May the lockdown release you to go back to Kuwait.
Thank you so much.
And Maureen.
Yes, I wish that we will all fulfill Baba's hopes in us. And those hopes are very unlimited, for sure. And, then these three words come to mind that Baba said before he left: incorporeal, egoless, and viceless. This very, very elevated aim. And something when that line comes in the Murli, that your final thoughts lead you to your destination, then I'm always aware of the preparation that leads up to those final thoughts. So let us all be on that journey where our final thoughts lead us to the most elevated destination for us, for the BK family, and for the world.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you for participating. Turning it over to you, Brother Dev and Brother Brahm.
Thank you, Judy, for facilitating.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Judy.
you. Thanks to everyone. Very beautiful sharings. Thank you. Thank you.
It's lovely.
Thank you all. We'll end with a few minutes of Baba's remembrance. Just want to say beautiful feedback here in the chat window. Everyone is saying that questions were very nice and all the answers were really wonderful. And so thank you so much. We'll now take a few minutes in Baba's remembrance. And after all the panelists leave, rest of us will stay back for further announcements about the afternoon program. Om Shanti.
Shanti.
Om Shanti, everyone. So this afternoon, we're going to come back. We're going to have the presentation on the screen now with the schedule. So we're going to come back at 5 this afternoon, 5 to 5:10 meditation, and 5:10 very special session on Seva, serving as an angel. It is very